To talk about all this, I do want to welcome in Congressman Jeff Van Drew. Congressman, welcome to the show. First, I do want to talk about something that's very fascinating. We talk about Biden kind of taking a vacation here. It seems like he's taking a page from his own playbook back on the campaign trail when we saw him campaigning from his basement, because it seems like it's working. His approval rating is back up in the 40s. It was in the 30s, the low 30s. It's now 44% by some polls. I mean, is this working? Is that why it's going up? Because people just aren't hearing from him?
Well, I truly wonder if those polls are accurate. I just can't understand, with all that's going on, all the problems we have, all the challenges America has, how that can be. But the second piece of it is, yeah, I mean, he does better when he's hiding in his basement, hiding on vacation. Why do you think they do it? Every time he opens his mouth, every time he presents one of his ideas, which are mostly crazy ideas, he doesn't do well. So I think that they're thinking, hey, the best thing we can do is not say a word, not even show him pretty much his face, and just hope that, you know, we can do better and slide in because he's not out there making another gaffe.
Congressman Van Drew, I want to ask you you're probably the perfect person to ask this. A couple of years ago, you switched parties. We're coming up on a midterm election, and if this had been you a couple of years ago, you'd be campaigning on all this stuff that Democrats are pointing to. $3.8 trillion in spending, all of the stuff, the gun control, the Inflation, quote unquote, Reduction Act, which is climate spending and IRS agents, whatever. Republicans are talking about the rate on Mar-a-Lago. They're talking about out of control inflation and gas prices. Walk me through kind of the thinking right now, because Democrats are proud of this stuff that they're doing. They're very proud to campaign on it, and they're saying this is great stuff. It blows my mind that something like this would be popular among anybody.
I agree with you. So I want to really know, how they can campaign on it. I think it's crazy, but they have no choice. They did it. So they've got to try. Their campaign has got multiple parts to it. And by the way, a few years ago I changed. I never would have been campaigning on this stuff because I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have voted for it, and I wouldn't have stayed there. And that was the whole point of what I did when I made the change. But nevertheless, they feel that they can convince us, that they can push us into believing that these things are good. I don't know what they can convince us. Is inflation good? Is what's going on with taxes good? Is the fact that our supply chain is not functioning properly good? Is the fact that crime is higher than it ever was? Homicides are up 50%. Is that good? Is the fact that we've had to lower the standards for both our police and our military, both the intellectual and physical standards? Is that good? Is it good that people aren't joining the Army and Navy and Marines anymore because they just don't want to be involved in the way that it's being handled now? Is that good? We can't get police officers. Is that good? The border is burst open. We have just millions of people coming over. And the real truth is, I want people to understand what a big deal this is. We have illegal people coming over, involved in all kinds of activities. And if you were to total up the number of them that have come in since Biden's been in, it would create a state that would be the 30th largest state in the union. How can anybody vote for this?
Yeah.
But I do want to go off this point, because just this week we had Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee Chair Congressman Sean Patrick Maloney. He said this to the New York Times editorial board. He said, I think sometimes we Democrats are really clear on our own priorities, and we don't ask what are the priorities of the people that we represent. All right, great point. He's clearly coming out and saying, we push the agenda here. But to your point of what you're saying, how much of this is them trying to convince their constituents, hey, this is what you should care about, opposed to listening to what their constituents care about?
Well, the far left, this is the very far left, this is their agenda, and this is what they want. They are not a majority of Americans. I never believe that. I know it's not true. I speak with a lot of people. But the far left wants to change the very fabric of America, the very social structure of America. I mean, this is a real battle. I say to people all the time, I spoke to a Chamber of Commerce the other day, and I said, we have to make a decision as Americans. Do we want faith and freedom? Do we want family? Do we want the things we've always believed in? or are we going to go in a completely different direction? Do we want to be just another country on the globe, just part of the global matrix, or do we want to be the America we know that's number one, that's strong, that's the best ever, best in education? By the way, we're also dropping in that. I don't know how you campaign on that. So I don't understand how people would want that. And I understand that these radical left Democrats want to change our country so much. They're willing to do anything to push to do it. And by the way, I've spoken to some of them. They figure if they lose, eventually they win again, but they've put all these things in place which will be here forever. Well, I don't agree with that. My prayer is that we win the House, we win the Senate, and then we do, and I've got a whole list of them, and I gave them to our next speaker, McCarthy, of things that we've got to reverse, like the IRS.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, Congressman Jeff Van Drew, good to see you on a Friday night. Thanks for being here.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for the work you do.